he was supposed to become one of the main teachers of the law in Israel. He had studied under one of the best teachers of the law of the time. He had studied under Gamaliel in Jerusalem. He was a Pharisee and very strong in his beliefs. But when he was about 30 years old, his world was turned upside down. When he was about 30 years old, he was traveling from Jerusalem to Damascus, and he himself requested letters. He requested to be authorized to go to Damascus to persecute the church, to bound up the Christians of Damascus, men, women, and children, and to bring them in chains to Jerusalem to be judged for their heresy. On the way to Damascus, everything that he knew was turned upside down. Because on the way to Damascus, the one whom he was persecuting himself appeared to him. Who am I talking about? Who am I talking about having his life turned upside down? Paul. Paul, who used to be Saul of Tarsus. He grew up in the city of Tarsus in nowadays Turkey, being this very strong Pharisee, as he declares in today's epistle reading in the letter to Galatians, that he advanced in Judaism beyond many of his contemporaries in his own nation, being more exceedingly zealous for the traditions of his fathers. But when it pleased God, who separated him from his mother's womb and called him to his grace to reveal his Son in him, that he might preach him among the Gentiles, he did not immediately confer with flesh and blood, nor did he go up to Jerusalem to those who were apostles before him, but he went to Arabia and returned again to Damascus. After the Lord revealed himself to Paul and told him, do you know why we call him Paul and Saul? Saul is the Hebrew equivalent of Paul. Paul is the Greek equivalent, and the Greek and Latin equivalent of Saul. So it's the same name. As we have, Jim and Demetrius, or Bill and Vasilius. Same thing. So his Jewish name was Saul, and that's why when the Lord appears to him on the way to Damascus, according to the book of Acts, the Lord tells him, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? And the Lord speaks to him from this very bright light. Saul falls down from his horse, he's blinded, he goes to Damascus. The Lord calls Ananias in Damascus, one of the leaders of the church in Damascus, to go to the street called Straight and to see Saul and to restore his sight, to baptize him and to restore his sight. Ananias says, Lord, I'm sure about this because I know that this guy is coming to Damascus to arrest me and the other Christians. The Lord tells him, he is my new vessel, chosen to preach the gospel to the Gentiles. Do as I tell you to do. And Ananias does so. He goes to see Saul, baptizes him, and Saul starts to preach that Jesus Christ is indeed the Messiah, prophesied by the Old Testament scriptures. And then, in today's epistle reading in the letter to Galatians, Paul tells us that from Damascus, after having this revelation and this change of heart, he did not comfort with flesh and blood, nor did he go up to Jerusalem to those who were apostles before him, but he went to Arabia and then returned again to Damascus. What is this about? Can you imagine being Saul? Can you imagine offering your whole life up to the age of 30 to a cause that I strongly believe in, and I dedicated my whole life to that cause, and all of a sudden I have this appearance that tells me that I'm wrong, and I have to change my ways. And by the grace of God, Saul tried to immediately change his ways, but it was not easy. This is why he says that from Damascus, when he was doing Damascus, he did not confer with flesh and blood. In fact, in the original Greek New Testament, the word for confer is I put away flesh and blood. I put away anything that was carnal. He went into a fast. He went to Arabia. Don't think of Arabia, of the Arabic Peninsula further south. In those times, Syria and the Nabatean desert, close to Damascus, was also called Arabia. So what he did from Damascus, he went into the desert close to Damascus to fast, to pray, and to put his world back in place. Because his world was turned upside down. He studied the scriptures to convince himself that yes, indeed, this Jesus of Nazareth is the Messiah prophesied by the scriptures. He fasted and prayed and studied the scriptures to bring his world back together. That's why he stayed for 3 years in Damascus and the desert near Damascus to bring his world back together, and at the same time preaching more and more the Lord as being the Messiah. And then, after 3 years, he went to Jerusalem to meet the other apostles. Did this ever happen to you? To have your world turned upside down? Sometimes it happens that in this day and age, when everything is changing so fast, professions that we studied for, that we invested in our time and our money and our energy, and then we profess them for 10 years, and then all of a sudden our profession is not needed anymore. Because it could be done by a robot or computer now. What do we do? My spouse, God forbid, with whom, whom I trusted, I found out one day that she or he doesn't love me anymore. And I invested so much in myself in this person. What do I do? My child, my parents, anyone could, turn our world upside down. What do we do in such an instance? What Paul did was he accepted the reality. He accepted the reality of his vision. He accepted the reality that indeed Jesus Christ of Nazareth is the Son of God and the Messiah of the world. He accepted the reality. This is the first step for us also, to accept our new reality that was revealed to us. As tough and unpleasant as it might be. And then to pray and to fast and to study the scriptures. To reorganize our world that was turned upside down. And to find a new purpose in life. To believe again in what we are doing, in what the Lord is calling us now to do. This is what Paul did, and he became a great apostle to the Gentiles. And this is what we are called to do when we are called to a new mission, to a new calling. Amen. Glory to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit.